And the first step is a little bit painful, I'll be really honest, but you have to map out exactly what the whole sales process looks like.
We're a family, and family looks out for each other. If we're working together and you piss me off, that's between you and I, but ultimately as a group, we're one.
Putting information on the website that they can start reading, seeing what you guys are about, what we're about, and being able to helping them set realistic budgets is ideally what the website is helping us do.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Landscaper's Guide podcast. Today, we're in the Ramblin Jackson video studio in Lyons, Colorado with the 3 finalists for the 2025 Landscape Leader of the Year live stream. It's the day before the contest. This is going to be coming out afterwards, but I'm really excited. These are 3 of my top clients who will be competing for the Landscape Leader of the Year tomorrow. You guys have each had amazing growth stories. I've gotten to know you today and just wanted to share some stories with the audience about your business and things you're working through. So Michael, tell us a little bit about your company.
So Mike Fisher with Dutchie Stoneworks and Outdoor Living. We specialize in designing and building outdoor living spaces. We've been at it for about 20 years, so working with Ramblin Jackson for the past year. Interesting. Started with them right after last year's Landscape Leader of the Year event, so that's how I kind of found out about them.
Cool. And where are you guys?
We're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, serve the main line of Philadelphia, so we're 30-45 minutes from Philadelphia.
And what is your talk that you're giving tomorrow?
So tomorrow, oh boy, I forget the exact title, but how our website went from the leads kept coming in from price shoppers to actually people that want to work with us.
Yeah, that's so cool. I can't wait to hear that tomorrow. And Stu, tell us a little bit about your business and where you're from.
Good morning, my name is Stuart Ward with Buckhead Landscape and Design. We are based right outside Atlanta in the Buckhead area. Been in business for almost 30 years, hard to believe. I'm currently the owner and in the process of transitioning over to our son Andrew next year. We focus mainly on maintenance, design, installation of outdoor living spaces.
Thank you. What are you presenting tomorrow?
I am presenting on defining and developing an effective sales process.
Nailed it. That is, I'm pretty sure that's your title.
That is it. And yeah, I look forward to presenting it tomorrow.
Cool.
I think it'll be great.
And then Dominic and Diana.
I'm Dominic DePadre, Tri-Valley Landscaping. We're out of a small town called Casagrande, just south of Phoenix, Arizona. Been at it for about 20 years, just ready to kind of step up, get with the 21st century and bring some technology and hopefully get some benefits out of some marketing tools. We're here because of my wife, Diana, who kind of brings all this to us. So.
And what is your presentation about?
My presentation is focused on culture. I grew up in a kind of an athletic environment where people were family, and I try to bring that into my company and create that camaraderie, that family of everybody looks out for each other and works for a common goal.
I like it. And Diana, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Diana, and I am Dominic's better half, and keep him in line, of course. Had to say that. Actually, I'm the one that brought him with Ramblin Jackson because of what he said before. He's part of that athletic family type group. That's what your company came across as. That's how you seem to treat your employees, all your customers. And so I was like, I think we'd be a great fit with you. So we've been with you about 10 months, and it's been wonderful all the way through.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think you found us through our podcast.
Yes,
So
I did.
I always enjoy when I meet people, I'm like, where did you hear of me? Kind of thing. So,
Yep.
Well, great. So we had you all just met for the first time today. So
Yes.
You guys flew out from across the country. I'm super grateful that you did that. We're going to get to speak, and we're spending the day together. We're going to go on a hike. What did we do this morning, and what did you guys learn about each other's businesses?
We had our mastermind meeting, and I know I got a lot of little tidbits here on sales process, more technology to check into.
Me, it's just kind of, it's almost like therapy. I think I said that to Stu outside. This stuff is like therapy when you start finding out that all of us have kind of the same struggles. We're both learning, or we're all learning the same kind of processes and struggles. Stu's been in this for 30 years. He's sitting here trying to figure out a sales process. He's brand new at it, trying to figure out the same sales process. So we're all in the same boat. And so it's comforting and like I said, somewhat therapeutic for all of us to be able to have this conversation and hopefully learn from each other. So.
Thank you.
Totally agree. We do all have the same issues. It seems like whenever I get together with other landscapers, you can make a list of the top 3 or the top 5, and everyone's struggling with the same thing. Absolutely. But I always walk away with some great ideas. I've already gotten a couple today from you, Dominic, on how you manage some aspects of your business. So I think it's fantastic to share ideas together. So thanks.
Yeah, I think the sales process is one. Everyone's trying to figure that out. But I think the interesting to me is the technology part. It's changing the way a lot of people do business, whether it's using, like you guys use LNN. We use Manage 360, guys tracking their time, giving them hours, understanding AI. I think that's like, I come from a world where my dad used spreadsheets to do estimating, and I came in there and said, this ain't going to work. And, seeing him to adjust, I think it's really interesting to see where technology is going to take the industry, whether it's marketing or standard field operations stuff. So.
Yeah, and I think it is therapeutic. I'm in a mastermind with other digital agency owners, and sometimes I go to like an in-person thing, and so I think sometimes with social media and stuff, you read magazines, you're like, oh, all these people are killing it. They've figured it all out. No one really has figured all of it out.
And it's constantly changing.
Yeah,
That's
Yes.
the thing.
it's constantly
It's like trying
changing, and I find in my own business that just when I think I've like figured one thing out, I learn like, oh, there's this whole other aspect of my business that I didn't even realize I need to work on. But that's also what's exciting about business, I think, is that there are continually things to learn and improve. And there's usually someone else who has figured out something already that I can learn from. What are some of the challenges you guys shared this morning? Like, what did you learn that somebody else is having the same challenge? I think and the reason I'm asking is the people listening are going to be like, oh, well, I'm not alone either.
Yeah, so I'm gonna plug my presentation for tomorrow. Developing an effective sales process.
Yeah.
So, but really, the issue we discussed this morning was finding a salesperson that's going to be effective within our company, and what does that person look like, and once we find that person, how do we onboard them and give them a process to follow to make sure they're as effective as they can be to help the company grow.
Well, so what was your sales process challenge? And then what did we collaborate on? And because you're presenting what's worked, so maybe
Right. So,
without giving the whole presentation recap. Like,
yeah, I won't give the whole presentation. I'll tell you how we used to do it.
Yeah. Sure.
And I joked this morning, welcome aboard, Mr. New Salesperson. Here's the keys to the car. Call us if you need us. Sell a lot. That was our sales process.
Yep.
And kind of worked for a while, but the person didn't really know what was expected of them, what were the metrics for success. We didn't know what to expect of them. They didn't know where to look. We didn't have any process at all. So what I'm going to talk about tomorrow is really putting together an effective sales process for any company to use. So once they find the right person, they have a roadmap, a framework to follow to get to the finish line and be successful. We worked with Robert at Ramblin Jackson, and the first step is a little bit painful, I'll be really honest, but you have to map out exactly what the whole sales process looks like. Scripting all along the way, from the initial call in from a prospect all the way to the finish line. And you've got to think through everything that you want to say, where you want to lead them. And we mentioned this morning, an unqualified lead, how to gently let that unqualified lead know that it's not a fit for you. And that's something that we always struggled with. We laughed this morning. For me, every lead is a qualified lead. But as we all know, and Dominic, you mentioned this morning, every lead is not a qualified lead. And a bad lead is going to leave the the client unhappy and probably you unhappy.
Well, and then also, how does it impact your teammates or your employees?
Having
kills
unqualified,
morale.
yeah, unqualified, yeah, because you're not going to be able to be successful.
So I think that's how I find the strength to tell people no. Is I think about the times when I've had clients come in who end up not being a fit and how much stress they cause for. We were talking about account manager retention at your company, at my company, at every company. That's a position that's difficult, and we're going to have difficult clients. And I like challenging clients, but there's like a spectrum of like demanding, difficult, and then they're just disrespectful, rude. That's
Peter.
where the PETA clients for sure.
Peter Quaid.
So that's why I think if the more you can weed out on the front end, to me, I'm weeding out so that way I can then have a really great relationship with the clients who do come in.
Yeah,
And I can't have everybody. I can't have an amazing relationship with everybody.
And I'll give you an example of a typical lead that's unqualified. It's one that is below our minimum on a maintenance side. So say, I'll just throw a number out there. They have $200 a month to spend on maintenance. And if we do 46 visits a year for that client, I cannot load a truck and get a crew there in Atlanta traffic and unload the truck and service the property and move on to the next for $200 a month. I've already lost. So if I sold it, now the account manager is responsible for keeping that account on budget. So now they're pushing the crew to go faster, 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 because you're over budget. So now the crew's going faster. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So now the client's unhappy because the quality's not there. And it just continues on and on. When if we had identified it right up front as this is not going to work, it would have saved everyone a lot of time all the way through.
Well, so you just said $200 a month. I'm pretty sure you said that was what your first customer paid in the 90s.
135.
Okay, so 135 like 30 years ago.
Yeah, but that was with me pushing a mower, and
Right.
I was making 135 a month.
Yeah,
At the time.
But I mean, yeah. So your minimum might need to go up a little.
Yeah, I mean we're in the mid fours now.
Okay,
and
yeah,
and
so-
that does weed out a lot of
Right,
people.
Whatever the number is, you need to know what that is.
Yes.
And so that was why I was advocating for on that initial phone call and on your website having a pricing guide. And on that pricing guide, landscape maintenance starts at $400 a month and ranges up to, what does it range up to, Stu?
We have one residence that's over $8,000 a month.
Up to $8,000 a month, and maybe you show them a photo of an $8,000 estate that has fine gardening and all of these things, and then here's a $400 a month lawn maintenance account, and they can see, okay, but that way at least they can eliminate themselves from even talking to you if they're not at 400. I think the sooner we all learn that, the better off we all are.
Yeah.
And that was one of the pieces when we were working on sales process that I like to have on that initial call is, hey, by the way, have you had a chance to check out our pricing guide? Typically our lawn maintenance starts around $400 a month. It can range up to $8,000 a month for really large projects. Is that in your ballpark? Oh no, my other guy only charges me $50.
Per visit.
Yeah.
It's the per visit ones.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
Oh well, great.
Yeah.
How's that going for you?
Yeah. And one of the things we identified
Why are
with
we talking?
Robert was early on in the qualification, kind of red flags that you
Yeah.
identify. The customer, I bought some plants at Home Depot, I'm looking for someone to put them in. Red flag. I'm looking for bi-weekly service. I'm just going to pay you during the growing season and then we don't want to see you until next, things like that where they're just low-cost shoppers. It's just not a fit for us. And we try to weed them out before we ever get too involved with those type
So
clients.
have you come to terms with telling people no? Or how's
It's a process. We're working on that. We're working on that. Yeah. And I think I mentioned earlier, I have difficulty saying no to people, but other people in the company are much better at it. So
Yeah.
we're much better weeding people out. Kind of our niche, we say we know Buckhead. And what we're trying to say is we understand the type of clients that are in Buckhead. They're demanding.
Right.
They expect detail. So we kind of joke like, I just went and looked at a property and it's not, we know Buckhead. So we're already looking at it and saying this does not represent who we are or where we want to be, and it's not going to be a fit.
So how do you tell them no without being?
Well, I don't.
You hire somebody.
I hire other people to say it. Yeah, I think what our office person does, who does the initial conversation, is she will mention the minimums, and that normally weeds out the low-cost shoppers. So that's the first filter that we use at this point.
One of the things we talked about earlier. Where's that paper?
Oh, the no paper?
Yeah, the no
Here.
paper. Who's got it? So
PETA on the back.
this was I wrote no on a piece of paper, and I put it on the table. So I like to call this putting no on the table. And what was that all about? Anybody remember what putting no on the table is?
Being comfortable telling a customer no, that it's not
Well, it's
a
part of
fit.
that.
You started with the negative so that you could work your way back to the positive.
So how is that landing with you, Dominic? Initially, I don't know that it settled well.
Well, I'm the kind of person I have no problem telling people what I feel. I got no problem with that. But again, I think I mentioned it earlier. There's a struggle between you working on building your company's cash flow and your cash reserves, but at the same time, you're filtering out potential revenues. Mm-hmm. And that is a challenge when you're looking at a bank account and you need to bring work in.
But you don't want to do work where you're going to be losing money.
Right, but you don't want that work to be counterproductive.
Right.
You want that work to be fruitful. You want it to be a source of pride. You want to be able to do the quality that you do, and make the money. I mean, obviously, we're all in this to make a little money and provide for other people as well. And you brought up the team earlier, and what's it gonna, if you bring in that $200 one, what's the trickle down effect of that? And a lot of times I will say no to customers just to protect my team. I've got solid teams out there, and they don't deserve to be treated poorly as well. So if I have a client that's going to do that, I don't want that to be a part of it.
Have you ever fired a customer?
Oh, more than once.
Yes.
And I probably can't say it on this podcast what I've said to customers when I've fired them. I've got no problem if they're.
Why did you fire them? You were in the middle of work. You'd already started working.
Yeah, we started working, and if they're treating my people poorly, if they're talking down to them, if they're being discriminatory, if they're being condescending, if they're doing it to my people, to my staff, to my office staff, it doesn't matter. I have no problem telling them where to go. I don't care if they're making $15 an hour or we're in the office. People don't deserve to be treated that way, and I'm not going to tolerate it from anybody. I don't care how much money you got. So that's kind of how I am with that.
How does that tie into your talk about culture?
My talk about culture is we're a family, and family looks out for each other. If we're working together and you piss me off, that's between you and I. But ultimately, as a group, we're one, and we look out for each other. And I say that, and she knows. It's not just about my staff, it's about our clientele as well. When they come in as our clients, they become part of that family unit. And they have a tendency to get a little protective of us too. So it does happen.
What do you mean the client gets protective of you?
Gets protective of our company. I've had, if you get one person that has something negative to say, I've had clients go to bat for us, both publicly and privately. And so it's that culture that we try to create throughout.
I've had that experience too. So I'm running, you mentioned coming to our Landscape Leader of the Year. I typically run meta ads, so I'm out on Instagram and Facebook for this event, and people come out of the woodwork with negative comments. And I've had clients reply and be like, no, actually, this is a legitimate company, and I'm their actual customer, and you don't know what you're talking about. So I think when you take care of people, they will do that.
And that's the idea. And so from the client standpoint, one of the things we're focusing on is their lifetime clients, which means you're in theory going to be generating revenues from that client over years to come. It's part of that deal. But from the staff standpoint, if they feel cared about, if they feel like they're important, they're going to be more productive. They're going to have your company's interest in mind when they're out there working. And that's my philosophy. That's how I try to approach it. And I've approached it that way for 20 years. So
I like it.
That's kind of where I'm at.
I'm curious, Michael, what are you thinking about? How does your website, your website, your whole presentation is about weeding out tire kickers and price shoppers. How does your website do that? And how does that relate to putting no on the table maybe?
No question is hard for me because I look at kind of like, everybody that calls is potential revenue and, I want to solve their problem. So that's been a big challenge for me is learning how to say no. But I think the website, after working with you guys, has given us a lot of, we ran a lot of meta ads, Instagram ads, you name it, everything before working with you guys, and we didn't run any up until this month all year since we started working with you guys, and we've gotten more better qualified leads. And a lot of it has to do with on our website we put a pricing guide up there. We filter the questions, they fill out the form. They can schedule a call with one of us right away. A lot of people, as soon as they start, even just looking at a project gallery and starting seeing price tags on, different projects. Like I had just a phone call the other day, a customer call, say, hey, I like project number 25 or whatever, that's in our budget, let's design something like that. It's a great starting point. So a lot of that, just putting information on the website that they can start reading, seeing what you guys are about, what we're about, and being able to, versus them just calling right away and say, hey, I got a $20,000 budget, and I'm like, I can't build what you want for that. Helping them set realistic budgets is ideally what that website is helping us do.
And I think unless they're a professional landscape contractor or they've already hired one, how would they have any idea what this would cost? I mean, it's pretty complicated to create a budget for a landscape project. And I mean, it's simple, but it's also like you'd have to.
And I would think the pricing guide also kind of weeds out people that don't have the budget to do the jobs. So it's really kind of eliminating that whole group of people because they already kind of know what to expect before they contact you.
Well, and I see the pricing guide as far as putting no on the table on that initial call. It would sound something like, hey, I'm going to ask you a few questions to help us figure out if it makes sense to do the next step of having our estimator come out to your property. And hey, sometimes we're not actually able to help people. I might have a referral or I might have a resource to send to you. Would that be okay if, I ended up realizing I can't help you if I told you? So that now I'm putting it on the table. That's what putting no on the table is. So that way in that call, if I'm like, by the way, have you had a chance to look at our pricing guide on our website? Oh, no, I haven't. Oh, well, tell me more. Like, well, what were you thinking of doing? Oh, we want to do a patio, and we want a retaining wall, and a fireplace, and a grill. Like, what are you guys thinking right now in terms of dollars?
Retaining wall,
A lot.
Yeah.
Like 30, 50, 70, like you're probably
50.
right. So that's what I was gonna guess that you're all in the 50 range.
Right.
And okay, well typically projects that have a retaining wall, a patio, a grill,
right.
they're gonna be north of $50,000. Sometimes some of them are even $100,000. Is that in the rough ballpark of what you were thinking? Oh my gosh, who would spend that on anything? That now since I put no on the table, hey, what were you expecting? Oh, 5,000.
Well, and that goes to what I was saying earlier too, about philosophy of kind of upping the image of landscape contractors.
Yeah.
You start doing things like that, then we come across as being more professional, more prepared, more educated, and that presentation kind of ups the image of landscape contractors as a whole. I really think it needs to go up.
Well, I think it does. And then if I say to that person, hey, it sounds like you're in the research phase. Would it be okay if I emailed you our pricing guide? It has ranges and it'll help you plan your budget. They'd probably like, yeah. And now if I get them into my system and I automate some follow-up emails to them a few weeks later, hey, have you had a chance to review our guide? Are you still thinking of doing a project? Chances are they're going to call a couple other landscape contractors who aren't going to show up on time. They're not going to send a proposal on time, and they're probably not going to be as upfront about budget as you were. So I think that actually telling them no, or like, hey, it sounds like you might need some resources, I think it builds trust with that person. And maybe in 3 weeks they realize that they do need to spend 50, and they do have 50.
Right.
But they were starting with, they just didn't know what they needed at the
And
beginning.
you saved yourself the time of going out
Yeah,
on a
instead of
sales
you-
call that's probably not going to go
I mean,
anywhere.
I've worked with hundreds of people. I've done masterminds at all kinds of conferences, and the amount of owners of landscape companies who are driving an hour to meet with somebody for an hour,
Yep.
to then get to I have 5,000 for what starts at 50,000, happens all the time.
Right.
And many of them still go through with the hours of creating a proposal.
Yes.
And I don't think that actually serves the client for them to come home and wait for an appointment with you to get to the $50,000 ballpark conversation. That's my thought. What are you guys thinking? Does this make sense? Like,
Yeah,
should we do it?
It makes a lot of sense.
Should we do it sooner on the phone?
Absolutely.
I think talking budget is what I've learned on the phone. Like that's you get them. I try to get them to put it in their the web form. Sometimes they don't always
Yeah.
do it. But getting like I had one guy call in about a front walkway project, couple plantings, small retaining wall, I think, and he had gotten 2 other prices already, and he had sent me an email with I could see he copied part of somebody else's quote, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy's price shopping. And I had our estimating software pulled up. I was punching numbers as I was on the phone with him, and I was like, hey, we're going to be at the 25 to 30, K range, and he's like, well, I got a price for 12. I'm like, I mean, I didn't see the property, but and he's like, why can you? And he kept asking questions like, why is this guy less? And then why he made the mistake of letting the one guy's name in the one part of the what he copied and pasted. So I pulled him up, and I could see he's one truck maybe, doesn't have a website. I explained these things to him. That's why we are in the higher end. We're not gonna we're not here today going tomorrow type of people. We've been
Correct.
around for 20 plus years.
Well, and so I have a folder in Google Drive. It's called the True Cost of Cheap Website Design. And it's photos of websites that have been hacked over the years that like redirect to porn or like
Yes.
malware. Have you
Yep.
right? So you've seen this, and so when I get this, I'm like, hey, can I show you what happens when people don't spend enough on what you're talking about? And they're like, okay. And I share. Usually, I'm on Zoom, and I'm like, hey, what would you think if your website redirected to this? And I don't even speak. I just show them this folder of it. So and that's been really effective for me because people
Yeah.
are like, oh, I had not thought that it could go that bad. So I think you got to be prepared with some stories or photos or I don't know. I'm just wondering if like, have you gotten any photos of like a retaining wall that's burst open or a well, I had somebody on the podcast, they do commercial, and when they lose an account, they go and take pictures of it when they're driving by. And they show the client, here's what your property looked like when I was doing your maintenance, and here's what it looks like now. And they can see the difference.
Wow.
So I guess what I'm getting at is you got to have some stories, and if you can show people visually a landscape disaster or an article about a landscaper who's in jail from your town, or like these like the more that you can make the stories real, I think it helps them get it. Because again, if they haven't gone through the pain of hiring somebody who has failed them in any kind of construction, they won't get it. And I think you have to, I don't know, I think you have to have some stories to show people. Have you guys found any that?
I just educate them. I don't have any good stories. I mean, I could probably drum some up pretty easily, but I in Arizona, and I don't know what's true for the other states, but in Arizona, in order to do work over $1,000, you got to be a licensed contractor, which means testing, background checks, and various processes to go through that bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And so what I try to do is I just try to educate people. I have an illustration that I made of potential things that go wrong on a site, and then who's liable. If a wall falls down, and your contractor's in the wind, who's responsible for it? You are, right? If he's a licensed contractor, no, you just call the ROC and you'll get some sort of retribution. If a guy gets hurt on your job site, who's going to get sued? The homeowner, because he's not licensed and he's not covered by insurances. So those are the things I try to educate these people.
So how often do you think the people that you're losing on price to are unlicensed contractors?
I'd say at least half of the projects I lose are to unlicensed guys.
And would you be able to look it up online if you knew the name of their business?
I could, and I have. I have actually reported them to the ROC, and I've actually had conversations with inspectors and people from the registrar of contractors, and it is one of those things that they just don't have the resources to enforce.
Well, one of the other things from our mastermind this morning was, one, I was saying pre-qualify on the phone, and
Right.
two, if you can, what was the other thing? Present the proposals to people.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
if you,
Yeah, the
if
second,
you,
yeah.
if you meet with them, either over Zoom or in person, and you say, hey, sometimes I would let them know it's often normal that people get more than one estimate. Are you planning to interview anybody else?
Oh, I ask that up front.
we do.
Every
and,
time.
and they'll probably say, well, yeah, we've got, Tom, Dick, and Harry coming over. And say, great, typically one of them is going to be like a third or a half of my price. If that happens, would you allow me to review the proposals with you and see if they're apples to apples? I might recommend you go with Larry, who's half my price, and I've got work to do. Sometimes, though, they're not licensed, and there might be things missing from their proposal, and I might be able to help you figure that out. Because if you can, sometimes some people will say, no, just email me your thing. I'm not going to meet with you. But if I meet with them a lot of times, and you can get a proposal from other people, you could look them up and be like, hey, what I'm realizing is this is not a licensed contractor. What do you think would happen if one of their mason workers injured themselves on your property?
Yeah, and I have brought those things up. I have brought that to their attention.
And a lot of times the homeowners hasn't thought of that. They're like, oh, I didn't realize I would be liable for that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I educate them on. A lot of times, and I've heard this, if I had $1, I probably wouldn't have to landscape as much time as I heard this, but I get a lot of people in retrospect come to tell me they wish they would have gone with us. At that point, it's not the licensure thing. It's not what it is you'll get these guys that'll come in with, they'll do a half a day on this project and then a half a day on that project. They'll be back in a week to finish this, and so a project that should take 2 to 3 weeks is taking 2 to 3 months, and so these people are getting agitated. But at that point, they're committed, and I've already lost it. So now it's to try to. At that point, it's just try to gain some credibility, and I always tell them, well, don't worry, we'll come back and fix what they screw up. But that rings true quite frequently, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
we're not getting the big chunk; we're just getting the little polish up their turd kind of thing.
But maybe you can do their front yard when it's time or whatever.
Yeah, it's a battle.
And that would be a good story to get in a Google review. If you could prompt someone to be like, hey, in your Google review, could you write about how you hired somebody else, it went poorly
Right.
and we fixed it? Because that's a story that when you're selling to people, you can direct them to that Google review or something. I'm always trying to find I always try and record video case studies or get reviews about specific sales objections that I have, because then I can send them to people if I don't know, if I'm facing an objection about, well, this doesn't work in Arizona, I'd be like, well, have you met Dominic? Here he is. Oh, that works in Arizona. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with the presentation of the proposal. I think a lot of us get busy and get lazy and just
100%.
send out an email
Yeah.
and hope they call. And we've done that way for years, but our success rate is so much higher when you sit down with the client and you walk through the proposal, because you can address any objections right there.
Right.
Maybe they're misreading it or they aren't clear in some aspect of it. So you can walk through
Yeah.
and talk about your references or other projects that are similar, or I can send you pictures.
You may need to phase it. You may need to say, hey, how does this look? Oh man, this is $10,000 more. Well, we could phase that. We could do that next year or the following year.
You solve the issues.
And they're
right
like,
there.
oh, I never would have thought I could
Yeah.
remove that.
Yeah.
To add to that too, because I agree that presenting it in person is valuable. One thing I learned, and I stopped doing it, I need to go back to doing it, is when you do that initial appointment where you're just kind of consulting, figuring out what it is they're looking for, to make that follow-up appointment
Absolutely.
right then.
Yes, and that's one of Robert's.
And
Yeah.
I
Yes.
failed to do that. I learned that lesson a long time ago.
And you send them an invite in Outlook or
Yes.
Immediately,
Calendar.
right there in that appointment.
Yep.
Locked and loaded.
Well, because here's what happens. I recently had to do a construction project at my home. And unfortunately, we had really interesting meetings with some remodeling companies, and weeks go by and they don't send you the proposal, and you're like, well, what are they doing? Are they even gonna help me? And when you have that calendar, when you have an appointment with somebody, the search kind of stops. Like that's what I learned as a homeowner, was like, I was kind of on the hunt for somebody to do this project that I needed to have done, because I had a water damage problem, and I needed a kitchen.
Right.
So yeah, when you get it in the calendar, the search often stops. They're like, all right, the first two people haven't even replied. This guy sent me a calendar invite and sent me a thank you email after the meeting. Like, and I'm feeling he's got photos and reviews. Like, all these things are on track. And I love getting it in the calendar at that meeting.
But yeah,
And
I
if
think
you're
that
presenting-
immediately- yeah.
And if you're presenting the proposal, it's a little bit harder to say no.
Yeah,
When
they
you're
gotta look you in
when the
face.
customer's face to face with you, it's easier to manage the objections, and it's a little bit harder for them to say no. So I think the success rate is quite a bit higher.
I think it is, and also a lot of my clients are having success doing it over Zoom, because I think the best case is if you're dealing with a couple, is to present to both people. And Zoom, a lot of times, if one of them, if they're both working at different times or they can't both be home, they might be able to join on Zoom. So that can also save you drive time.
Yeah.
And if you're in your estimating software, your design software, you can be like, cool, let me spend like a minute changing this for you. Like, what do you think of this?
Right.
I
Yeah.
removed the fire pit, and that saved
Yeah.
$7,000 or whatever.
I always try to, just on that family thing, I always try to make sure I know both of their first names. Always.
Yep.
Because it's more personal that way.
Yeah. And I always address them by their first name.
Always. Always.
Absolutely.
Because if you say Mr. Smith, you're automatically putting him there and you're here.
Yeah.
So if I say Dominic,
Yeah, yeah. No,
we're
it's-
here.
Well, so part of my own sales process is I handwrite the names of the people I'm meeting with.
Always.
And
yeah.
that helps on my own little paper plan.
so
So
you
that
can
way I
always refer
know
back to it?
I'm meeting with Michael and Martha.
Yep.
How are you doing today? Like if I like forget, I can look at my notes,
Yep.
Right.
because have you ever called somebody by the wrong name?
I sent an email the other day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the email thing, right. So anyways, yeah, you lose.
directed that at you on purpose.
That's a good way to blow it. Is
Now,
to-
this is valid. It was a Hispanic woman with all these last names. Julio, Julio, Rico, and she's married. And I was like, is that her first name? Well, it wasn't. It was like part of her last name.
Uh-huh.
So I got it right, but I just didn't have the right
Order.
order.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can ask.
Oh, yeah, I got
If-
no problem
if-
asking.
You
I'm
know,
sorry,
like,
I
hey,
don't
am I
remember
saying your name right?
Yeah.
What else did you guys take away? We got to go get some barbecue. Is the
I had one other thing, and we haven't
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
It's and this is a little bit of a Sandler thing, but
Yeah.
it's responding to incoming leads and the speed with which you respond. And they said, I don't remember the exact numbers, 3 to 5 minutes. So if you get a lead,
You're
and
not
if
helping
you
my
can
case.
call them in 3 to 5 minutes, your success rate is huge. And actually, the day I listened to that Sandler presentation, I got a lead that afternoon. I was like, I'm going to try it. And I called the guy, and he goes, well, that was fast. And I
Yep.
said,
Well,
thank you. And,
yeah.
I went on the sales call, and we got it. He didn't even talk to anyone.
Well,
else.
so I'm totally with you on that, because again, have you all tried to hire a contractor for anything at your
Sure.
home? Yeah, like usually you call and no one answers and no one calls you back. So then you're like, well, I'm available to call people. I'm going to call the next company on Google or whatever.
Right.
So being the first one to get back to them is absolutely
And you know
an
they're
advantage.
thinking about it right then.
Yeah.
And they're probably right there.
Yeah,
So you're not leaving messages.
she's not gonna pipe up right now, but you haven't helped my case. She's over here giving me dirty
But you
looks.
can't wait a day or two. I mean, it's already cold.
She's over here giving me the looks
Well,
because
all right.
part of what we're on our entry form, our submission form on the website, she was talking about the HubSpot thing, where the minute they submit something on the submission form, they instantly are getting a text back going, "Hey, if this is during business hours, somebody
Yeah.
will call you within 30 minutes. If this is after business hours, someone will call you the very next morning."
Right.
You know, but they feel validated because now they've gotten a response back.
Right. Didn't go into some black hole.
I love it, and sometimes it could even be. I mean, best would be calling people, but it could even be a text message like,
Right.
"Hey, it's Dominic. I saw your message. I'm at a job. This could even be automated.
Yeah.
I'm at a job site, and I'm going to be calling you today."
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's
exactly.
what
You know,
she said.
oh,
Yep.
okay, Dominic from
That's,
Tri Valley.
that's
is,
how we wrote
you
the
know,
message. So that's
Yeah,
very
that's
personalized.
Exactly like that. And you're right.
Yeah.
She's right. She's been preaching that to me for
If
a
you
while.
can get them
now.
on the phone, like right
Yeah,
then.
because I think really what you're after is the customer is looking to feel like they have someone who's going to help them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they can kind of relax on the search. Okay.
Yes.
I'm writing a new book right now, and I have a whole chapter on this. So you're on track, Stu.
Okay,
so I
great.
have the number I found. I call it the 5-minute golden window. And so if you call within 5 minutes, you're 21 more times likely to make the sale than if you wait after
you go.
30 minutes. Also, the first I'm calling it the first responder advantage. 78% of customers buy from the first person who answers.
So true.
And and also I talk about how the bar is so low in landscaping that if you blow it and it is tomorrow or 2 days later, like some people get embarrassed and they don't call, still call, because the chance that the other companies they called didn't call is likely, right?
Yeah, agreed.
In fact, I've called them back and it started right away. First, let me apologize. You were getting this phone call within 24 hours since you sent that message, change of staff, whatever was happened. I said, if you haven't found anybody, I'm love to go over everything we do. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we got the job. Nobody else had gotten back to them.
It's kind of that simple.
It is. It really is.
Basic business.
Yeah,
101.
basic
Yeah.
basic stuff.
Communication.
Uh-huh.
Basic
Just
stuff.
communication. The people love it. So.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out to Colorado to present
Yeah,
at the
thanks for having
Landscape
us.
Leader of the Year and for doing this podcast.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Thanks for
Yes.
making me come to Colorado.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching this podcast with the 2025 Landscape Leader of the Year finalists. Really fun conversation. And if you're looking for a marketing team that can partner with you, that understands the landscape industry, reach out to us at landscapersguide.com/brainstorm. We'll have a 15-minute conversation about your goals, your business, and give you some ideas to get more hell yes customers. My name's Jack Jostes, and I look forward to talking to you next week on the Landscaper's Guide.